Alright, let's see. Are we live? Right, so I'm just gonna share this. Un momento. Where's it gone? Alright, that's what I'm talking about. Let me just share this, people. Q&A, live and unrestricted. Alright. Where's my fire icon? Right now, sharing that. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, people. Alright. إن الحمد لله وكفاه والصلاة والسلام على رسوله المصطفى وعلى عباده الذين ارتضى ومن بهداهم اهتدى وبآثار أهل المدينة اقتفى وبعد فسلام الله على القوم. أهلا وسهلا بكم. Bienvenidos a todos de nuevo, people. Welcome back. Huan Ying Layth, and as always, Swagatam, Swagatam. Right, so, how is it going? First of all, a belated, but a tahe dil se from my heart, Eid Mubarak to each and all. Right, hope you had an awesome Eid. Just chilling, that's the best thing to do really, just chill, that's it. But I hope you had an awesome time. Somebody's asking, where's the Red Bull? Alright. You see, today I've actually had a lack of sleep, so this has got to keep me energized along the way, inshallah. There's my little mixture to mix it up. And what have we got going on today? Look at that, the questions are already pouring in. That's what I'm talking about. Back in the game, people. Yes, I back. Is back. Is it a coincidence that the devil is released and my Monday nights begin as well? Wow. Let the fitan and fasad begin, people. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Right, what's in the mixture? Allah, what's in the mixture? This is something special. Special. Right, so let me just open this. Allah, Allah, Allah. I have to repeat the beloved words of Ghalib, the legend and don of Urdu poetry, who says that Ghalib chuti sharab, Ghalib chuti sharab par ab bhi kabhi kabhi. He says, Ghalib, we've left alcohol. But now and then. He said, what's that? Rose abar or shabe mahatab mein. Whenever it's maybe raining or it's a full lit moon night. Maybe now and then. Astaghfirullah, God forbid. I'm not saying that I'm doing that. I'm just quoting Ghalib. Right, so anyway, right, what's going down, people? Where are the ice cubes? I kind of had to lay off today because I could kind of, weirdly, even though the weather's all good, but I could almost feel a slight cold coming on, so I thought I'll have to ease up on the ice. But I do firmly believe that what is a drink if there's no ice? I've actually bought myself an ice making machine. How weird is that, people? That's how, you know, some people who are just totally obsessed by gadgets. That's how I am. Like, you could sell gadgets to me just like this. So I bought myself an ice making machine to make ice. Now I'm like, oh, I was making ice anyway in the freezer, but 21st century problems, people. 21st century problems. But so what's going on? What's going on, people? What are the fitan and fasad saying? What are the masail? What are the fatawa? Hez Jamrock is in the house, people. Hez Jamrock. Alright. Nicholas Bitar. Alright. That's what we're talking about. ¿Qué tal? ¿Qué hubo? Ain't this supposed to be Q&A? Yes, fire away with your questions, people. Fire away with your questions. Right, that's what I'm talking about. ¿Cuál es tu pregunta? What's your question? His name's gone now. Shukran. I've got a few that we will be taking a look at tonight. We'll take a look at this hadith, which I wanted to clarify. 2 hadith. One is about learning poetry, where the Prophet said, I believe it's in Bukhari, about poetry. It's better for one of you to be full of kind of pus and all these kind of things, infections, rather than to be full of poetry. Now that's an interesting hadith because people use it to attack poetry. And there's another interesting hadith I want to look at a bit later on as well, and that is that it's about if that bad luck is to be found in 3. That a house, a mode of transport like a horse, it mentions in the hadith, and a woman. So what is this hadith on about? That these are potentially sources of bad luck. So what is this hadith? So we're going to take a look at that a little later on. Also, we're going to look at there's been some controversy. There's been some controversy. So we're going to take a little look at that as well, which is to do with our good pal, our friend, hello friend, Abu Ibrahim. Those of you who remember him from a few sessions back earlier this year, who tried to refute me using da'if hadith. Da'if! Well, he's back. So we're going to talk about his little controversy on racism a little later on as well. So, which has taken the internet by storm. So we'll come back to that. Let's take a few questions, people. What's going down? Elizabeth saying, I do bring bad luck if you catch me before I've had my coffee. There are many sects in Islam. How can we unite the whole ummah? Through love and compassion. How does that sound? Through understanding, through tolerance. That's how. And by the way, this hadith that my ummah will split into 73 sects is a rejected hadith. Okay. Do not buy into that. A lot of people like to push that hadith to support their kind of sectarian view. And the truth is, this hadith is da'if. Okay, da'if, people. So, and it's been declared, in fact, fabricated by the likes of Ibn Hazm. So, this hadith, do not rely upon that hadith that my ummah will split into 73 sects. Okay. Muhammad ibn Muhammad Khalid Ustad, ahlan wa sahlan bik, ahlan wa sahlan bik. Da'if, we've got Bilal. Billy Boy is in the house, people. Billy Boy is in the house. does the multiverse hypothesis clash with Islam? Not necessarily, not at all. Right now, it's not certain, but there is a theory in that's gaining a certain amount of prominence within quantum physics. That, you see, where did the universe originate from? And there's an understanding that, like this universe, because you've got billions of solar systems into a galaxy, billions of galaxies into this universe. Now, the understanding originally was that this universe is one. It's a kind of unitary universe. But now there's an understanding that there may be multiple universes. And universes may somehow trigger, somehow in a weird way, that they may behave like how things behave at the quantum level. That maybe at that level, the cosmos level, they behave in a similar way. And that's what sprung this universe into existence. It's not, it's a bit fuzzy, the whole thing, but that's because the nature of this discourse is still fuzzy. And scientists are trying to work their way around it. There's no conclusive evidence or anything, let alone conclusive evidence. There is no certain evidence at all to say there is a multiverse, but it's a hypothesis that there could be. If there is or there isn't, it does not clash with Islam under any understanding. Okay, Soraya, ahlan wa sahlan. Those of you just tuning in, click like, people. Click that like and that share button. Get it out there, people. Get this, spread this love. Right, so we've got Mu'adh in the house all the way from Cairo. It is now gaining much more prominence, the whole multiverse theory. It is gaining more prominence, definitely. Should Saudi Arabia consider removing the Shahada, the Kalima, from their flag? Because their flag is printed. That's an interesting discussion. Should they remove... do they have to remove the... Sorry, I'm just trying to go into also the Q&A that I've been... questions that people have put on the post. I can, from one aspect, see the argument that people, because it's the name of Allah and it's the name of the Prophet and it's going to be on flags and it's going to be kind of printed in books and anything, and hence it could be trampled upon or disrespected, sacrilegious, events could take place. That's on one hand. Is it on a football? Oh, okay. Sorry, because I don't watch football. I'm not up to speed at all with what's going on with football. Is that what's going on? It's actually printed on a football that they're kicking around. Is that the... Okay, wow. I don't know about that. We've got Ustad Doc Imran is in the house. Alright, ahlan wa sahlan, ahlan wa sahlan. Fadi, ahlan wa sahlan from the Bay Area. Right, so if it's on a football, then I think they should have like an alternative to print on things like that, where it's not actually, but just something resembling like some squiggly lines or something to resemble the flag. It doesn't need to have, it shouldn't really have Allah and his messenger's name on a football, astaghfirullah, to kick around. That is that's very, if somebody else did it, another country did it without their consent, that's different. But if they themselves are authorizing this, then that is very highly negligent of them. Considering that they like to call themselves the custodians of this deen. Like hell are they? They're anything but the custodians of this deen. But nevertheless, if a different country had printed that, that's different. But if they have themselves printed that, then they shouldn't allow it to be like that, in my understanding. Are women allowed to drive? Hell yeah, women are allowed to drive. Why wouldn't women be allowed to drive? That is the most stupidest suggestion or so-called Islamic ruling. It's so-called, it's nothing to do with Islam, improvised by the Saudi state. It makes Muslims a laughing stock of the world that women can't drive. I don't mean can women drive actually, which could be another debate in itself, where I could maybe unleash, the feminists will unleash the hounds of hell on me if I said but I mean, you've got some of those videos going around where they've got women drivers. You know, if the Saudis had done that as a prank, I'd kind of then that would be that would be interesting. But unfortunately they think this is some kind of God-given law that God doesn't want. And you should read some of their justifications. Some of their justifications are like, when a woman drives, the vibrations in the seat will trigger sexual stimulation in the woman. I want to know what their seats have got. Do they fix all these kind of sexual gadgets on the seat? You accidentally sit on the wrong side and you're like, oh, uh-oh. Right. Okay, people, welcome to your side. I sat on the passenger side today, so unfortunately there's so is it true that men have a G? Okay, I'm digressing. Now, you see, so some of the justifications that they write are absolutely crazy. So they say women are going to end up having sexual stimulation, and some people say that they're going to, because they're sitting and they go through the turbulence whilst they're driving, so they're going to damage their ovaries. I mean, how far up are those pedals? I mean, to the Saudi cars, what do the Saudi cars look like? I mean, I want to know, are the pedals like coming right out? They're going to damage their ovaries. God damn, I just want to know who comes up with these kind of, justifications on behalf of the Saudi ministries. Can I apply for that job, please? You just gotta sit there and just write jokes, but in a serious way. And you gotta be just absolutely serious about them. You gotta be like, you gotta say it with a straight face. Anyway, that's all fun and games. Look, absolutely, in the time of the Prophet, in early Islam, women rode modes of transport. They had horses, they had camels, they rode these. Women independently had their own camels, had their own horses, had their own... It wasn't something that was restricted to men only. Okay? It's just the dumbest ruling ever. This is like... This is exactly what I mean by, you know, you get the kind of sunshine group, the bottom set, and they're kind of in charge of these religious ministries in Saudi Arabia. What's going on today? The ruling. Women can't drive. Sunshine group, they just colour in, they just have crayons. It's a ministerial meeting going on. It's the Ministry of Religious Affairs, and they're just kind of colouring in. You want to colour in. Anyway, people, let's move on. What's next question? Let's take some questions, people. Whew. That said, I am kind of liking what MBS Mohammed bin Salman is doing. He's really bringing it up to date. I like it. So, where are we? Oh, have I come out of the questions? Yes, salam. When Saudi Arabia removing the kalima? Oh, well, I've answered that one. Wisdom in poetry. Well, I'm going to come to this question later on. Hassan Vauda. Could you explain why insurance and playing the lottery are haram? All right. Well, Imran ibn Kashmir. Ya salam. Imran ibn Kashmir. Allah. What is it? Agar jannat barue zaminast. Inast. That if paradise is on earth, then here it is. About Kashmir, that was said. Right, so the question is insurance and lottery. Insurance, I don't believe insurance is haram. They finally jailed Munajjid. Oh wow, has he been jailed? Has Salih al-Munajjid been Sheikh Salih, Hafidhullah, Abu Salih? Has he been jailed? Oh my God, I gotta read up on this. God, you see, all of a sudden, you see the interest in gossip. It's like, really, what happened? What happened? But I gotta read up on that. That sounds really interesting. God, honestly, wallahi, these people have destroyed Islam. Honestly, I'm not joking. They have destroyed the damage these people have done to Islam in the name of Islam. Ya salam. Ya salam. They have done some serious damage to Islam. You just have to read some of the stuff they write. Honestly, ya salam. Ridiculous, preposterous. Yeah, I mean, I'm not doubting their sincerity. They're very sincere in what they do. But just crazy, wacko stuff, man. Right, so I don't believe insurance to be haram. Insurance, by the way, is not gambling. Okay, you've got to understand. Insurance falls under something called mukhatara. It's not actually qimar. I know a lot of Muslims think insurance and stuff like this is gambling. It's not. It's called like where you're risking your money because you are. Why they damaged Islam? Right. Okay, I'll come to the damage the Iranians have done was probably these guys. Why would you want to ride? Why would you want to ride an udder? An udder? Alright, okay. I'm not sure what that means. Why would you want to ride an udder? I don't know what that means. Right, so coming back to this question, then I'll come to some of those. Right, mukhatara is when you risk something. So if I want to buy a service from you, but the service may not be carried out, or it may be carried out. Now that's a risk. There's a chance I'm paying for nothing. There's a chance I'm paying for something. So this is called mukhatara, from the word khatar, which in Urdu is used as well for danger. But khatar in Arabic is used as well for danger, but it's also used for something kind of risky or important as well sometimes, or of grave importance in that sense. Now, so in that sense, insurance today, why would these things not be allowed in the past? If you analyze our Sharia, you will see that the Prophet ﷺ forbade anything that was built that could lead to disputes, strong disputes. So anything in the time of the Prophet that would have led to, because you have to remember, you see, there's certain things we take for granted now, and that is law and order within society. We take these things for granted. We assume that, oh, when there's a dispute, it's so easily settled, or there's always an ultimate authority. So something happens, we're going to call the police, or this matter is going to go to court, or this matter is... You have to remember, in the time of the Prophet, there was no such thing as courts. Okay, there was no such thing as police. Yes, they had a kind of decision making. I don't know if you want to call it a court. It wasn't really a court, but you had the chiefs of certain tribes who just gave rulings, like, we're going to kill you in place of this, or we're going to do this and we're going to do that. This was really just power being thrown around. And some of them may have been a bit more just than others, but that's not the point. It wasn't a justice system per se. And there was a lot of vigilante justice. So the Prophet forbade anything that led to dispute. Ma yufdi ila niza' muharramun shar'an. Okay, that is the kind of principle in the Sharia. So these things like mukhatara would have led to huge disputes. And disputes led to fighting, which led to bloodshed, which led to murder. So this was the kind of trail. And this is why a lot of these things were forbidden. However, in this kind of a society that we live in today, insurance policies don't lead to those kind of disputes. They operate within greater structures. So there are laws, rules, mechanisms in place where things are protected, rights are protected, there's things are put into... There's a lot, the whole structure, the whole narrative and discourse has changed. So to assume that we are operating in, like, let's say, in the same society that there was 1300 years ago is silly, because we're not. We're operating in a totally different world today. So in this society today, to take out insurance policies is not haram. And you would have to bring overwhelming evidence to demonstrate that it is haram. And to simply say it's mukhatara, once again, mukhatara is very broad. Right, so mukhatara is broad. When you say a risk, today people will say, well, that risk is mitigated. And the level that they're risking, they're comfortable in risking that. It's not something, like, so for example, you pay a certain amount of money and you could have an insurance policy for, I don't know, your mobile phone. It's a few pounds a month, but it's worth that hassle. And you don't mind spending a few pounds. You could be spending them buying a cup of coffee or 2 cups of coffee. And now you're spending them protecting your mobile phone against any loss. Now, these kind of things, in my understanding, the Sharia permits in our day and age. Okay. So that's as far as that is concerned. In terms of the lottery, now this is an interesting one. In my understanding, gambling, and in most people, as far as I'm concerned, generally, gambling is haram. Qimar, which is in the Quran. Because the dangers that gambling brings with it are ruthless. If people want to Google the kind of manner in which homes and lives and relationships and all of these things have been utterly destroyed, they need to just read up on the lives of people who become addicted to gambling. And gambling has an overwhelming addiction. It is incredibly powerful. And if you know anybody who's addicted to gambling, you'll actually see that. So gambling, I condemn. And I don't, and I would strongly advise people to seek help and move away from gambling. That is haram. However, is lottery gambling? That's the question. Now, that sounds like a silly question, because you're going to say, well, of course it is. You're going to say, well, you're gambling away a certain amount of money for a greater potential win. So technically, it's gambling. Yes, from that aspect, it's similar to gambling. It is gambling from that aspect. from the social aspect of how lottery is perceived and conducted within society, it doesn't fit into gambling. So as an example, somebody is at the supermarket. Somebody is at a supermarket and they're buying their shopping, and along the way they buy a scratch card, or they buy, here's £1. I don't know how much it is now. Let's say it used to be £1 once upon a time. God, that's showing my age, I think. But I think I don't know how much it is now. But let's say it's £1 or £2 or whatever it is, and they say, yeah, can I have a lottery ticket as well? And here are some numbers. Now, the way it's conducted socially, it's not like gambling. So socially, this is not conducted in the manner of gambling, but from its definition, it matches gambling. But we've got a disparity. So does this fall under gambling? Many people will say it does, because by definition, it is gambling. I would disagree. I don't believe lottery per se falls under that kind of gambling. One, it's too trivial. It doesn't lead to addiction in that sense. It's not conducted how gambling is conducted in casinos and things like this with greater... It's not done like that. People who... The social difference is people who do this themselves do not consider it gambling. So, for example... And I'm not trying to stereotype here, but let's just say you will get an auntie, let's say an Auntie G. She's doing her shopping and she will say, can I have a lottery ticket? But this same auntie, so to speak, would never set foot in a casino, because she would see a casino as like that is wrong and bad. But she wouldn't make an association of, and it's not just, I'm just using this as a scenario, but people in general do not see the lottery as that kind of gambling. So I would say that there is a disparity, and based on that, lottery, I mean, it may be discouraged because you're just kind of, it's just seen as kind of, you're just wasting money. It's very unlikely people will win and things like this. But it is a trivial amount, and therefore it is not haram. There are also riwayat that many of the Hanafi madhab bring, including people like, you have many of the Hanafi scholars, whether it's Sarakhsi or other people, they bring these discussions to show that that the Prophet ﷺ, they bring narrations to say that he allowed for Abu Bakr radiallahu an to gamble as long as he was in Mecca, but not in Medina. So they themselves bring in distinctions to show that not all gambling under all conditions is haram. So although they kind of differentiate it by trying to say, well, anything in when it's not a Muslim kind of situation or scenario is okay. That's the Hanafi distinction. But if you take a step back, what ultimately is being said is not all gambling at all times is haram, if you want it by the definition. So things like, and I would draw the distinction here in things like lottery and these trivial small things like raffle tickets, stuff like this, which people even in society today do not consider really to be gambling. So if you bought a raffle ticket at work, people wouldn't say that, you know, he's a gambler. He gambles. They don't use this term for that, but they use it for casinos and stuff like that. So that's my kind of no one cares. Mariam Malik. Oh, okay. Well, I'm ever so sorry. I'm sure the person buying the lottery ticket cares. Mind you, I was actually reading up about one of the first people to win the lottery in the UK was a Muslim, and he died, I believe, maybe a year or two ago. And it's really interesting to see how his life, the turn of events, the tragic turn of events, shall we say. Right, so moving on. I have been told I'm committing blasphemy by questioning the basics of Islam, like must we pray in Arabic, halal meat, what modest dress means. It's questioning things like that, blasphemous from an Islamic perspective. No, it isn't blasphemous, Elizabeth, and by all means, you have the right to question anything. Okay, and feel free to question, and if people respond like that, then that's because of their insecurity in the faith. And just ignore those kind of people, and you're more than welcome to reach out to me, and I will try to. I know you have sent some questions already. I've been a bit lazy in getting back to them. I will get back to you, but you have the absolute right, and anybody and everybody has the right to question to their heart's content, and that is what this deen is about. We shouldn't shy away from questions. Somebody asked. I'm not sure whether or not it was gambling, Saudi competition. Okay, I'm not sure what that is. Right, somebody asked about the 6 days of Shawwal, people, the 6 days of Shawwal, the hadith which is in, it's generally, I believe, in Bukhari and Muslim, that man sama Ramadan wa atba'ahu sittam min Shawwal, or in another riwayah, man sama sittam min Shawwal, whosoever fasts 6 days in Shawwal, فَكَأَنَّمَا صَامَ الدَّهْرَ كُلَّهُ, it is as though he has fasted the entire age or time. The interesting thing is, most of the people do recognize that these 6 fasts to be virtuous. They then disagree amongst themselves. Do they have to be consecutive? Many of them say they don't have to actually be consecutive, but they can be 6 days from within Shawwal. Imam Malik, however, rejected this narration and said that he found the scholars of Medina and the practice of Medina to not recognize this practice, and he saw this as an innovation almost. Personally, I'm in line with the Don of Medina, Imam Malik, on that. I don't actually, probably just too lazy, to be honest with you, I am. So I definitely don't practice the Sittam min Shawwal. I don't personally see them to be of much virtue, but I recognize for other people that want to do them, that's fine, they can do it. I wouldn't object to people doing it. And, you know, they're more than well. And many later Malikiya did, out of trying to be politically correct. They also kind of bowed the knee, if you like, towards the other madhabs in kind of acknowledging the virtue of these 6 days. But the early madhab didn't recognize it. Neither did Imam Malik. Right, so can I give examples about the people damaging Salih al-Munajjid and these people? It's many things. I mean, there's so many examples. You just have to see how they justify. In the past, I've actually quoted several of their things. I've quoted examples of even blasphemy towards the Prophet, how they will endorse several things that are blasphemous. They will just say it doesn't really matter. You can say this happened to the Prophet. What's the big deal? Even this the sexual impotence thing. They kind of support these kind of views when it comes to the Prophet. They many things, countless things. If you see when Salih al-Munajjid also endorsing that the Ash'aris, or Ibn Taymiyyah's statement that the Ash'aris, or Ibn Taymiyyah voices it, echoes it, but allegedly some people before him had said it too, that the Ash'aris, which is the majority of this ummah, are the kind of eunuchs, the kind of she-males of of this ummah. Basically, that's the majority of the Muslims. Once again, this kind of stuff, this kind of rhetoric, and the fatwa, countless fatwa you have to go through, you know, the way they encourage things, the way they'll encourage drinking camel urine, the way they'll encourage things like they're stupid, like women can't drive, the way they'll say things like dumb stuff like how the earth is generally flat. Although Munajjid himself, I'm not sure whether he endorsed the earth being flat, he endorses the other stuff. But if you see their things on when they say, oh, when aeroplanes fly and if the earth's rotating, then it just needs to stand still, and dumb stuff that they attribute to Islam. Countless things that you just have to read their kind of harsh approach towards this deen, on how people of heresy who they declare to be heretics, how they must be boycotted, how everything is haram in Islam almost. They've destroyed, honestly, what the damage they've done to Islam is, in the meanwhile, in the interim right now, it's irreparable. It's irreparable right now. For the foreseeable future, it will take, I don't know, maybe it may not, but it seems like the damage they've done is so deep to Islam. They really have kind of gone to it with pick and axe, really. All with good intentions. I don't deny that their intentions ain't good. But it's basically, and this isn't to kind of call out sects, but it's basically just Wahhabi preaching, which is just like my way or the highway, and everybody, and they hate reason. And to them, the more removed Islam can be from reason, the better. Their websites, I've got to give it to them. They have done a tremendous job. They have killed it. They have killed it in their internet game. Their internet game is on point, people. Honestly, if you want to learn how to get your Islamic understanding across, learn from these Saudi Salafi scholars. Honestly, they are on point. They are on point, people. I'm serious. They can kill the game. Their opinions are everywhere. Their fatwa always come up. They have invested money. These people know how to play the game. Right, so what's Yusra saying? Not from the sunnah. I'm not sure what Yusra is saying there. Are you just making a statement? Like, I'm not from the sunnah? I don't know what that's supposed to mean. That's nipa ba beard. I don't know what that means. Nipa ba. Iranian. The Iranian too. The Iranian government and the Iranian state. I don't mean from their politics side, but from their religious side, have destroyed Islam as well. Definitely Shia Islam, but also, you will see a huge number of ex-Muslims happen to always be Iranian. Seriously. And you speak to some of these, or you listen to some of their lectures, and the hurt that they carry for Islam, because of who made them. There was that on Facebook, there was Burn the Quran Day. It was an Iranian project, and they had the Iranian Farsi hashtag about Burn the Quran Day, and you had girls and women and men, they were burning the Quran. I saw it on social media. They were just ripping it up and chucking it into a bucket and burning it. And really, it's not, when I see things like that, it doesn't anger me as much as it hurts me. Because it hurts me that why do these people think like that about the Quran? They think like that because some idiot mullahs in their country have stamped religion in such a horrible way to these people, and they have persecuted these people in the name of religion, that they then hate religion. So who's to blame? I don't blame these people. I blame the people that are misrepresenting Islam. That it's their fault. Why have they, this like in Iran, this chador, and the way they have to wear this chador and all this kind of stuff. What is this kind of nonsense? Dress up in black and do all this and must wear hijab, forced by the state. And what is this nonsense? The deen is for people. Governments should not impose morality on people. I'm against this kind of morality policing. Even whether it's the UK or any country, there should be equality in this understanding. There should be justice. They should focus on justice, not on morality. So, right now, okay, wearing a bedsheet, yeah. This chador, honestly, it's disgusting the way they've kind of brought Islam down to this, reducing these women to like crows. That's what it's like, isn't it? That's what they call them in some of the kind of slangs. But I have a question. How are you? Is that your question? Estoy bien. Estoy bien. To the Saudi government around the Kaaba, was it possible to see the 4 maqams? Why were they destroyed? It was possible to find the... I'm not sure what the question is, C.A. Solomon. You see, Hisbah, the truth is that as far as morality is concerned, I'm speaking about imposing morality. There is an aspect where certain things cause inconvenience to other people. Yes, anything that harms another person. So let's say, for example, societies will have rules and laws in place. And that's fine. That's not what I meant by when I said they shouldn't impose morality. I meant how they should tell people in their personal lives what to do. So obviously, if a person, let's say, decided to walk around naked in the middle of the street, now people wouldn't. Now this is what they would describe generally as public obscenity. That is one thing. So people would say, well, I don't want my children exposed to this. I don't want to be exposed to it. That's fine at that level. Now, to say things like, well, you see, you can't be walk around naked within your own home or within how you should live your life. Now, this thing of hijab, you have to understand, this is not generally about, I know they will say it's about modesty, but people today, there's a general understanding within Islam as well of what to cover up, because somebody could use this argument and say, well, you know, you would object to somebody walking around totally naked. Well, a woman showing her hair or showing her, let's say, wearing a t-shirt is just as naked to men. Let's just say if somebody used that argument. And I would say, well, that's you tried well. But you are mistaken, my friend. Because that's actually absolutely incorrect from a Shara'i perspective, from an Islamic perspective. So Islam never used to treat... You see, we've got to get over this myth. Because I guarantee you, I call any scholar, any single scholar, to show me. Because in every single fiqh book, they wrote that a female slave she only needs to cover what's between her navel and knee. She doesn't even need to cover her breasts. This is what they all write in their books. And who were the females? They were normal women. They were normal women, except they had a social status that was below the other women. They were normal. There were many Arabs who were slaves. There were non-Arabs who were slaves. It wasn't this kind of American slavery kind of thing. They were just normal people. Let me give you an example. The kind of fostered son, if you like, or the fostered child of the Prophet, right? Zayd. Now take Zayd as an example. Zayd, who was kidnapped, gives his story. He says, I was going with my mother. We were traveling at a certain place. Bandits came. They surrounded us. They kidnapped us and sold us as slaves. And this is how it used to happen. So people who say it didn't happen like that are just lying. slavery was just like that. Yes, it came from war as well. It came from foreign trade, but it came through just bandits kidnapping normal, regular women and men and just enslaving them. So how is it this normal woman, all of our fuqaha say that she doesn't need to cover up, right? And this woman must cover up. So it goes to show the argument can't be about this modesty angle. Because if it was about modesty and about this social morality, then all women would have had to, if you were taking this angle that, oh my God, but if I see a woman's shoulder, I'm just going to go berserks. I'm going to be like, I'm going to totally lose control. And I'm going to go around on this berserker mode. Like, if that was the argument, let's say this is the, let's go with this argument for a moment, right? So if we see a woman inappropriately, let's say loosely dressed, like we could see, I don't know, let's say her lower leg, or we could see her arms and her upper kind of shoulders and stuff like this, and her hair, we're going to all go wild as men, let's say. Then, in that case, why were all the women slaves allowed to do that? Because they were still women. So, you're telling me, and it's utter BS if somebody's going to say, oh, well, they wouldn't have the same impact. Of course they would. What kind of a stupid argument is that? Of course it would. A woman is a woman. So, unless the guy is full-on gay, unless he's gay strong, if it's a woman, it's a woman. So it's going to have the same anatomical, biological, chemical reaction. The guy's not going to be thinking, what is her social status? Oh, now I'm going to get all sexually activated because she's got a higher social status. No. So this goes to show that there's either this ruling was never to do with social morality, or we've got a huge double standards game going on. So we've got to start to understand, and I can tell you I could pick any book of any madhab, and their scholars have said the same thing. And I'm not making this up. I am in fact saying that is utterly unacceptable. And Ibn Hazm, amongst a few scholars, was some of those scholars that condemned this ruling and said, what on earth are you guys on about? Why have you got a totally different system for slave girls? Because they're still women, and so either because they saw this as a social morality. So, but most of the scholars never recognized it. So anybody who's going to object and say the state ought to authorize because this is about social morality, then how do they answer this? Anyway, I've opened that can of worms. I'll just leave that right there to just fester and and don't get me started on the other marketplaces where they used to buy these slave girls, what they used to do. What's in the fiqh books, how they used to purchase them. We all know about that. Anybody who's read those fiqh books. See, so this is what I mean. So we need to be objective people. We need to stop having double standards, and we need to be real about things. And in today's day and age, it's known, like, people generally dress in a particular way. Now, certain things by societal norms are seen as modest and seen as okay, casual clothing. It may not be your utmost religious clothing, but people can be advised. You can do targhib. You can tell people, look, it's good to do this. You will get reward from Allah. You will this, that. But you shouldn't impose. Okay, right. So let's move on, people. Let's move on. Okay, let's take a look. Right. Shall we move on to this? I'll tell you what. Let's take one question, and then we'll move on to this controversy. And then we'll come back to some other, the hadith, and then some other questions. Salam Sheikh, what are your opinions on the teaching of Sheikh Imran Hossain? I don't really know too much about his teachings, so I can't really comment. Can you clarify the rings on women fasting Shawwal? Rings or rulings, maybe it meant to say. Well, I've answered that. Is it permissible for a man to lead only females in salah? Muhammad Sarkar, can I get a job as an imam in your masjid? Where do you get these female only congregations? All these guys are just applying for jobs to be an imam there. Everybody's like, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Right, so the answer is Muhammad Sarkar. Amitabh Bachchan from the Sarkar movie. Right, so the answer, Sarkar, is yes, you can. Sorry, he had actually put there at home. Right, so the answer is, even if it's outside, a man can lead women in salah. That is absolutely fine. Don't worry about it. So there is a debate on Facebook that the Shia are not Muslims and they are enemies of Islam. Some quoted that Imam Bukhari declared, I don't see any difference between praying salah behind a Shia and a Christian or a Jew. Astaghfirullah. Look at this. This is nonsense, people. We need to really move away from this kind of Sunni Shia divide. Honestly, I was thinking about this during Ramadan. I don't know what led me to thinking about it, but I was thinking about it and I was thinking, well, what is really the big difference between us and Shia? In my understanding, it's really just political. It's our views on historical politics. That's it. But I mean, put that aside, what is the difference really? If the Shia and some of the Shia, by the way, there's many Shia. I actually wanted to share a video. Somebody sent me a video and I forgot to share it. It was in Urdu and it was by a Shia who was saying, and he was quoting all these Shia scholars like Sistani and all these other Shia scholars, saying that it is haram to curse the symbols of Ahl Sunnah. And many of them, not just one, he was quoting several of them and their actual quotes and their photographs and so on. And I really wanted to share it because he was saying that yes, people will they will think of, what's his name, Yasir, not my dear friend Anthony Gonzalez Yasir. He's also a Mulvi Yasir. But there's another Yasir as well, the Shia Yasir I think his name is Yasir al-Habib or something. But he's very foul-mouthed. Curses the Sahaba and stuff like this non-stop. Insults the wives of the Prophet. But this Shia Imam said that, look, people will think of people like him. But you got to remember that he said they don't represent us. And they are the equivalent of how we get within Sunnis, we get takfiris, who call everybody a kafir. And we have that as well within Ahl Sunnah. By the broad understanding of Sunnah, we will have many Muslims who are takfiri. I mean, not the majority, but we'll have Muslims. Now, if Shia started to represent us through them, we would say, hey, well, they don't represent us. So I think in the same way, we ought to, inshallah, build bridges between the Shia and Sunnah community. Look, we're all Muslims, and history is history, in my understanding. I personally, I would disagree with the Shia understanding of historical politics, but I just wouldn't discuss it with them. I personally wouldn't, because I don't want to argue. I don't want to cause resentment. I don't want to kind of lead to bad blood. Look, whatever's happened has happened. So yes, we may discuss it in its own place, but if, let's say, I was sitting with a Shia right now, I wouldn't discuss these kind of things. I wouldn't bring them up, and I would refuse to engage in these kind of things because I don't want there to be bad blood. I don't want there to be kind of bad feelings. I would rather just focus on positive things. And I think, you know, I've got to say my own experience, especially recently with some of the Shia community, has been amazing. So I've, you know, very much, they've been, subhanAllah, very loving, very kind of encouraging. And I definitely say that we need to extend these hands of familial friendship and build bridges, inshallah. And this kind of stuff is nonsense that they are kafir. They are not kafir. We need to stop calling them kafir. Right? Because we're just playing into a stupid game. That's all we're doing. The Shia are not kafir. Okay. So let's just end it at that. As far as who's on the correct path, look, just chill. Just chill, people. Who's on the correct path? This path ain't a small alleyway, you know. It's like really vast. Okay, it's the path going to Allah. It's not a small little alleyway that we got to squeeze through. Who's on the correct path? Don't worry about it. Everybody is just doing their own thing. That's fine. Okay. We're not going to change people. You're not going to change the world. We can change ourselves. So let's just move forward like that. And you know, in line with that, I want to answer a question. Somebody had asked me, I came across, I was asked this question, which I've answered before, that look, what if reason led somebody away from Islam? And I answered that, look, if it did, it did. That's the nature of the search. But it's really interesting that I came across a discussion on this by certain scholars, amongst them the great the great Hanafi jurist al-Baydawi. Now, the great, who is a great mufassir of the Quran, he's a great faqih, he's an usuli, he's a theologian within the Maturidi generally and broader Ash'ari understanding. Now, he has a very famous statement where he writes that even the kafir, and these are his words, al-Baydawi's words, he says al-kafir, and this is in his matali', he mentions this, and it's quoted by Maliki scholars like al-Hafidh al-Ubbi in his commentary upon Qadi Iyad's commentary on Sahih Muslim. They quote that Baydawi says that al-kafir, who does ijtihad in trying to find the truth, even if he stays as a kafir with what he does with his ijtihad, he says yurja afuhu, we hope that he will still be forgiven, okay, and that he is still saved. So look at this broad, wow, this encompassing understanding, and he's a great Sunni scholar. I mean, you could take a look at another, and these are all opinions of Ahl Sunnah. Like, look at the great Sufi scholar, Muhyiddin ibn Arabi. Now, Muhyiddin ibn Arabi went to the understanding that even when we say hell, he said adhab actually comes from the word, because in Arabic it comes from the word udhuba, sweetness. So he said adhabu jahannam is actually still a reward, but it's only a punishment in comparison to the reward that the people of Jannah will get. That it's a lacking or a lesser reward, and therefore it's an adhab respectively. Because he said the word adhab meant sweet, it came from udhuba, from a sweetness. And he uses, and look, I'm not saying you have to believe that, but I'm just presenting to you, he's still part of the Sunni tradition, is he not? I mean, people call him Shaykh al-Akbar, the great, sheikh of all time, like the Sufi sheikh. he used a verse of the Quran that on the day of judgment, those people who disbelieve, the munafiqeen, that they will say, unzuruna, that wait, like give us respite or wait for us, naqtabis min nurikum, let us take from what the light, what you've received, the salvation. فَضُرِبَ بَيْنَهُمْ بِبَابٍ, that there is a door that is struck between these people, the believers and the disbelievers. That there is this wall and a door, barrier that is struck between them. But Allah says that بَاطِنُهُ رَحْمَةٌ وَظَاهِرُهُ مِنْ قِبْلِهِ الْعَذَابِ. He says that from within it's actually a mercy, but apparently it looks like an adhab. Now he used this verse of the Quran to say, now I'm not doing this, he is doing it, Muhyiddin ibn Arabi. Main thori na keh raha hoon baba. It's not me, it's Shaykh al-Akbar Muhyiddin ibn Arabi. He said that, look, this verse of the Quran is hinting to this, that really the adhab is a rahmah. That's an understanding, I'm just saying. It's still, is it not part of the Sunni tradition? I would say it is. It's still part of the Sunni tradition. As is Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn al-Qayyim saying that hell will freeze over. That's, still part of the Sunni tradition. As is Fakhruddin al-Razi in saying, look, Allah doesn't have to send anybody to hell. As is Ibn Rushd, who says the akhirah is really just a sense of kind of consciousness. And that kind of... are these not all part of the Sunni tradition? They are. So why limit... when the person said to the Prophet that, may Allah have mercy on just me and you. And the Prophet said, لَقَدْ ضَيَّقْتَ وَاسِعًا. That wallahi, that he said, the mercy of God is so vast and you've restricted it so much. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that any of these are necessarily right. But what I'm saying is they are all parts of the understanding that we have within our tradition of Ahl Sunnah. Now, we have a popular approach, but these are all parts of the approach. Right, so let's move on, people. Right, so what's been happening in Birmingham Sharif, people? Birmingham Sharif. Right, so guess who's back, folks? Guess who's back? Those of you just tuning in, click like, click share, get this out there, people. So our good old friend, Abu Ibrahim Hossain, aka Simran. So Simran is back, who we met earlier on this year in one of the Monday nights with Mufti, where he was refuting me using da'if hadith. So the Raqi, the Exorcist, was apparently on, I think it was Ladypool Road or somewhere anyway. He was in Birmingham on one of these roads, trying to preach out on Eid Day, preaching to the masses, the Muslim, the youth. He was preaching to them, saying that, what's wrong with you people? But what he said was, brothers, you have to stop talking black. You have to stop acting and talking like black people. That you are from decent families. Oh my God! Can you believe this? This is not a laughing matter, but it really cracked me up. I won't lie. I mean, for God's sake, this guy. Look, I could understand if he was trying to be funny. Sense of humor, for me, sense of humor has no bounds. So okay, but he wasn't trying to be funny. He was trying to be very serious. He was trying to be really religious and speak about Islam. I could understand if he was just even having a conversation and it came out by accident. And he probably thought, oh damn, I don't want somebody to... But no, he was using a megaphone, a speaker. A loudspeaker. He wanted everybody to hear this. And he was saying, stop acting black. Stop talking black. What on earth is he on about? I'm serious. What on earth is he on about? And then this gets picked up. It goes viral. He then makes an apology, which, oh my God. Oh my God. You know, you couldn't make this stuff up. Because if you were getting, like, let's say this is the equivalent of him being caught with his pants down. This is the equivalent. That's, okay, that's my humorous analogy. But now, if he's going to make an apology, just come out and just apologize. Just say, look, listen, okay, for being the idiot that I am. Oh, I know, I was possessed. The jinn possessed me. It was a Nazi jinn. The jinn was Hail Hitler. The jinn had one of those tashes and it possessed him. So he could come out and he could say, look, guys, listen, I'm sorry. All right, I messed up. I shouldn't have been acting like a clown, an idiot, the way I was, and saying these racist remarks. But what he does is he says sorry. And then he follows it up with another slap. He says that, you know, these black people, they need to stop with this victim mentality. It's not like they're the only people who face racism. I mean, what the hell was that about? What the hell is wrong with you, man? Seriously, what the hell? Like, okay, okay, let's just say the first time he was totally out of his mind, let's just say for a moment, I don't go with that, but let's say, you are now consciously making a video to address the issue. Why on earth would you say something as stupid as that? Like, black people need to switch out of this victim mentality because, you know, you're not the only people who face racism. Whoa, you dimwit. You're the one being racist here. Can I just remind you the irony of this situation? You are the one being racist. It's not. What the hell is wrong with you? You see, the equivalent of this, now he said, look, let's just analyze what happened. Okay, we got to analyze it. He's probably thinking, what the hell is wrong with Mufti Abu Layth? Nah. This one not nice, you know. This one require the dissection. So anyway, he said, look, he said that when I said black, you guys all knew what I meant. And there was another person as well. There was some, there were a few people, but some, let's say, people with some social following that kind of took to social media to justify Abu Ibrahim's statement. And they did YouTube videos on trying to say, first of all, they said, when he said, don't talk black, everybody knows what that means. That means, don't talk like gangsters, or don't talk like drug dealers, don't talk like thugs, don't talk like... I'm thinking, are you seriously saying this stuff? Because do you think that's some kind of a justification? Are you out of your goddamn mind? Seriously. Let's just take Ramadan as an example. Because I know Abu Ibrahim is saying when I said don't talk black, I meant like don't act like black people, you're from decent homes. He meant, this is what he's saying, I meant don't talk like thugs and gangsters and don't act like gangsters and roadmen, so to speak, because you guys are from decent Pakistani homes. This is what he's trying to say. Now, mi amigo, that is racist, full stop. There is no other way of looking at this. Let's just take Ramadan as an example. Let's take this Ramadan as an example. Almost every single day, almost every single day throughout Ramadan, there was a crime a video that was viral across WhatsApp and all these places of Muslim Pakistanis, right, either stabbing, shooting, driving over, attacking, beating up. Every day there was almost a video we were seeing. Every single day there was a video. What do you mean, don't talk black or don't... drugs, if we were to compare statistics, I would hands down guarantee that the Pakistanis, and I'm Pakistani myself, would have far greater statistics in criminality, in running the drug scene, in all these kind of crimes, than black people. So what is this supposed to mean? That, don't talk black, or don't act like you're black, like as though black people represent this crime, and we are now just, when we're doing these crimes, we're just trying to imitate black people. What century are you living in? Muslim, for God's sake, if this Ramadan proved anything, it proved that the devils are not locked up. He's from Birmingham. Birmingham was a nightmare in Ramadan. I mean, alhamdulillah, you don't see it in actually you did, because almost every other day, some part of these Muslim areas, like Alum Rock, Ward End, Washwood Heath, Bawdsley Green, Small Heath, Sparkbrook, Spark Hill, all of these areas, every other day were being cordoned off by the police for stabbings, for shootings. The amount of shootings that went on, the amount of, they ran over people with cars, the amount, each other. And this is during Ramadan. I was actually shocked. I was receiving these videos. I was like, what the hell is happening to people, man? So we need to get, and this, the reason people could say, well, look, he's apologized. But you've got to understand how this alienates an entire community, because you are acting as a holy man preaching. Now, I understand if you were not acting like a holy man preaching, you were just a regular guy, and this would just sound as a regular racist remark from a racist person, this is what it would sound like, but you would be insignificant. But now you are there preaching this, wanting this to be heard. It's not even, hey, I made a mistake, and because your apology was conscious. Let's just say, as a hypothetical, I want to give you an example. Let's say, listen to this, I want you to just let this digest. Let's say some white people, they addressed a crowd, a young rowdy crowd, that were, let's say this crowd were involved in involved in molesting women and girls, and they were involved in, I don't know, seedy sexual kind of aspects of, whether it's brothels and stuff like this, or let's say they were involved in that kind of stuff, and there were some rapists and stuff like this. Now imagine the person said to them, let's just say, and he gets caught on camera saying, guys, listen, my brothers, you people, stop acting like Pakis. Stop acting like Pakis. You're from decent homes. Stop talking and addressing, looking at women like Pakis. Now imagine he said that. Let's say somebody said that. Be honest, you would be offended. I would be offended. Because I would think, what the hell? I would think, what the hell is... what do you mean, don't act like Pakis? Like it's... But he could say, well, no, but everybody knew when I said Pakis, I meant grooming gangs. And I meant, the sexual, that they just look at women like meat. And they just, especially white women, as meat. Everybody knows that. I'm not racist. Duh. I hang out with Abdul. I play football with Abdul, and I got a colour TV at home. How can I be racist? So the thing is, now imagine he said something like this. He said, no, I'm not racist. I love curries. I haven't got anything against Pakistani people. I'm just saying, stop acting like Pakis. But we would we would call it out. We would say, what the hell's wrong with you, God damn it? You can't. And this is why these generalizations have huge problems. Even if, let's say, and this is not true, if we were to look at criminality, I do not believe that the black community outweighs the Muslim community. I don't believe that at all. I believe, in fact, unfortunately, Muslims are running a lot of the drug scenes. They are running a lot of these kind of criminal behavior and far outnumbering other communities, including the black community. But even if it were true, even if that were true, you still can't make these kind of generalizations. You can't say, all right, people, stop acting like black people, or stop acting like, because then that's the same thing when they say, or treat all Muslims like terrorists, or they treat all Pakistanis like sexual groomers, or they treat all, and this is a stigma. This is really, it's a disgusting stigma that is only in the last few years because of the media. You know, God damn this media, that they've really made this stick now with Pakistani people in the UK. And it's only in the last few years, it wasn't before that. This kind of all, you know, grooming, now sexual groomers, Pakistanis. It's like, what the hell? Why? Thanks, Rochdale. Thanks, Rotherham. All of us Pakistanis have to kind of now bear the brunt of that. But my point is that, look, this is why, humor aside, we've got to be very, very kind of, you can't make these kind of generalizations. And if they were said by accident, what you definitely can't do is go on and say, you know, black people need to snap out of this victim mentality. Because what the hell? What are you on about? Because you're the one being racist. You know, ek se chori upar se sina zori. You know, it's like the saying in Urdu that, you know, one, you steal, and then on top of that, you act all kind of like arrogant about it. So what is this? So Abu Ibrahim, what is your issue with black people? You know, this, by the way, the person defending him said, because Iblis has been unlocked after Ramadan, of course he's going to go for a Raqi. What on earth is that about? Raqi is an exorcist, these kind of exorcists who kind of ghostbusters. Let me tell you something, right? This kind of exorcism is nonsense, okay? It does not exist. It's fairy tales and superstition that these people are preaching against Islam in the name of Islam. And they are destroying Allah's deen and His Messenger's deen by spreading this kind of superstition, belief in demons, telling people that Allah is incapable of saving people, that they need these kind of exorcists to come and take demons out, that these demons are so powerful and they do all these kind of things. They stop, I would say, I would just stop that short of saying this is a lower form of shirk almost. Seriously, ascribing all these power to these demons and ghosts and nonsense, myths, right? Nothing, right? Send all your demons this way. Seriously, nothing but fairy tales that they preach in the name of Islam. And somebody was referring to him as sheikh. What kind of sheikh? What sheikh? How is he a sheikh? He isn't a sheikh. I'm just being honest. Like, I'm not saying that to diss him. I'm just being honest. The guy, he hasn't studied Islam. You know, not authentically. I'm pretty sure he doesn't even understand Arabic. And he quoting da'if hadith to me last time. Huh? Zaif hadith wale wabio. Right, so this is, and this Iraqi business is all false anyway. So if the devil, trust me, the devil loves exorcism because it's all fairy tales in the name of Islam. It destroys the iman and the mind of Muslims. It makes them live in superstition. And this is what Islam came to remove. So yeah. And to Abu Ibrahim, oh, mi amigo, my friend. You know, there's a Bollywood song, an old one, okay, that goes, हम काले हैं तो क्या हुआ दिल वाले हैं. He says that so what if we're black but we're lovers. That why, what is your problem, Abu Ibrahim? Tell us, who was she? That who was she? What was her name? Huh? or who was he? You never know these Iraqis now, you know, Ghostbusters. All, but what was it? Come on, what? Huh? Huh? Abdurrahman? Huh? Anyway, right, enough fun and games. But that's my message to Mr. Ghostbuster, right? Well, inshallah, have fun. Spread love. Spread love. Love, not this hatred and bigotry. Cool, people. That reminds me. Let's take a look at some of these hadith right now. I'm seeing Omar, ahlan wa sahlan, shukran. Fiyaz, ahlan wa sahlan, shukran. Remember to like, subscribe and share these videos, people. Who are you gonna call? Ghostbusters, that's who you're gonna call. These people, man, destroyed Islam, wallahi, destroyed Islam. And their beards, honestly, I don't want to get personal, but personal. I don't want to be personal, you know. But, you know, this one not nice, you know, this one. But still, anyway, let's go away. Let's move. Let's leave. Let's leave our fellow friend to do some courses in building bridges. Right, community bridges. But yeah, let's see. And the funny thing is they do all of this and, you know, and then they get their women to dress up all in black. What's up with all of that? Imposing black on the women. And then if you don't like black, what's all of this, huh? Why this contradiction, huh? Why this? So Abu Ibrahim, Mary Jan, behave, you know. Right, so now, people, let's take a look at a hadith. Now, there is a famous hadith. Right, so there's a famous hadith that is found in several books. I'm just going to bring it up here. Right, that ash-shu'am fi thalath. And it's generally from Abu Hurairah radiallahu anh, that ash-shu'am fi thalatha, that omens for bad luck. That means like bad luck can be found in these three places. And the hadith says fiddar, in a home. So you could buy a house and it's unlucky. Hang on, let me finish. I'm not saying this is the case, I'm just reading. Wal mar'ah, and a woman. Not that you could buy a woman, but you could be with a woman and maybe she's like a kickboxing expert and therefore it's unlucky. No, that's not what I meant. But this wording says she's unlucky, bad luck, or in a horse. I don't know how that's, but obviously in that day and age it meant transport. So today maybe a car, I don't know. But the hadith says a horse. So these three. This is a very popular hadith that many people, it comes in many books, and it's in Sahih al-Bukhari as well, it's in Sahih Muslim as well. Now, right, now, the interesting thing is, people have asked, is this hadith true and what does this hadith mean? Now, first of all, I would respond by saying that, relax, this hadith is utterly false with that understanding. Okay? And we need to understand how things have sometimes gone wrong in our amazing legacy of Islam. So this is a hadith which we have. Now, how do we know it's... Now, this is a book written by a great scholar, Zarakshi, who was a Shafi'i scholar, Badruddin Zarakshi, almost about 600 years ago. Now, in this particular book, he's compiled several narrations from Aisha radiallahu an. Right, Muhammad Jahangir Chaudhry saying, before lecture, make yourself perfect. Okay, Jahangir, for you, I make myself perfect, okay? Wait there. Nice, now nice. Nice block. See, mock and block, that's the... Right now, so the thing is, now this hadith, it's found in all these books. In this particular book, by the way, this scholar has compiled several refutations of Aisha radiallahu anha, the wife of the Prophet, in regards to several ahadith that have been transmitted by the companions, that she corrects, amendments and corrections made by Aisha radiallahu anha. Okay. Now it's really fascinating. Now let's take this hadith as an example. The hadith that Abu Hurairah transmits, he says that ash-shu'm fi thalatha, fi dar wal mar'a wal faras, that bad luck is in these three: a house, a woman, and a horse. In another hadith, you've got in Bukhari, that you see it's actually contradictory, because it says la adwa wa la tira, there is no communicable diseases, there's no contagious disease. This is what the hadith says. And there is no superstition, and indeed bad luck is in these three. So what a contradiction. Wow. How can it begin by saying there's no superstition and then follow by this? So let's take a look. The interesting thing is Aisha radiallahu anha, you have Imam Ahmad and several other people bring the narration from Aisha radiallahu anha that she heard this being said by Abu Hurairah, that people told her Abu Hurairah said this. Now she said that she heard that Abu Hurairah said that the Prophet said that indeed إِنَّمَا الطِّيرَةُ فِي الْمَرْأَةِ وَالدَّابَّ وَالدَّارِ, that indeed bad luck is with a woman or a beast, like transport, or a house. فَطَارَتْ شِقَّةٌ مِنْهَا فِي السَّمَاءِ وَشِقَّةٌ مِنْهَا فِي الْأَرْضِ. And it says that she lost her cool. She absolutely flipped and went totally lost her cool in response. And she said, قالت والذي أنزل القرآن على أبي القاسم. She says, I swear by Allah that he who revealed the Quran upon the messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, ما هكذا كان يقول. He did not say it like that. ولكن النبي الله يقول, but the messenger of Allah said. Now there's variations of this narration. He says that in this one, كان أهل الجاهلية يقولون, that the people of Jahiliyyah would say that bad luck was with these three. And in another narration, she says that the Prophet of Allah said, لَعَنَ اللَّهِ, may Allah curse them. And in one narration, he said that the Jews have said it as well. But these pagans of Arabia, may Allah, the Prophet said, curse them. They said that there's bad luck in a woman, and bad luck in a house, and bad luck in a horse. That may Allah curse them. This was the complete hadith. Now just look at that massive distortion of an understanding. That wow. That where did that ruling go from one place to a totally different direction? Here was the Prophet condemning and cursing these people for saying that, you know, may Allah curse them, that they say that a woman is bad luck. And here, Abu Hurairah radiallahu an, she says, only heard the last part, or this is what he's transmitted, and he's just transmitted that part in his understanding. Maybe that's all he heard, that there is bad luck in a woman, in a house, and in a horse or in a beast. Now look how massive, and see where the direction of Islam then goes. Because here's this understanding that leads then to misogyny. Now can you imagine all the men or all the people over time that then have said to, let's say to their wives or to women that you are bad luck. You are, and you get this. I've come across several of these cases, especially in rural parts of the world like Pakistan, like in India. They do this. They call women manhus, which comes from the Arabic word nuhs, which means cursed, and they bring bad luck. And they'll kind of then, torture them or kind of mentally torture them. And I'm just saying that this is so important to really, to rescue this misrepresentation of Islam. Because now can you imagine, like let's say now that happened to a woman. Now she would consequently, let's say a woman gets tortured because bad things happen, and people say she is unlucky, she is bad luck, so people torture her. Now they then justify this by saying the Prophet said this. Now tell me, she would naturally resent the Prophet, would she not? And could you now blame her? And this is why I say, whenever I see these people, I listen to some of these interviews of these ex-Muslims, and whenever I see these people sometimes disrespecting the Prophet that used to be Muslims, and it hurts me more than anything else. It doesn't, sometimes it's not about enraging or making me angry, but it hurts me because what they hate is the misrepresentation of men, of people. It's not the actual Prophet, because you will see that the Prophet never actually said these things. So this is really important to kind of see this distinction. And wallahi, these things really open, and I think it's so important to take the fiqh of Aisha radiallahu anha, her understanding, into account, into consideration, to kind of review, to see how she understood things, to see the role she played in Islam. Really, because that's what the Prophet said as well. He said, "Khudhu nisfa dinikum," take half of your deen from this beautiful woman, from Humayra, min Hadi al-Humayra, and that was his wife Aisha, because she was really keen on learning and transmitting the deen. So that's one thing. I want to take us to another hadith as well. And once again, it's an amazing, it's an important point. And that is this hadith that is transmitted by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu again. And I believe this is in Sahih Bukhari as well. And it's in Sahih Muslim as well, I believe. That Abu Hurairah said, the Prophet said, لَأَنْ يَمْتَلِئَ جَوْفُ أَحَدِكُمْ قَيْحًا وَدَمًا خَيْرٌ لَهُ مِنْ أَنْ يَمْتَلِئَ شِعْرًا. That if one of you becomes a vessel, a container of infections and blood and pus and all of these horrible things, it is better for him than should he become a vessel or a container of poetry. Now just look at that. Wow. That is like, that's in Sahih Bukhari, that's in Sahih Muslim, that's got several chains going through Abu Hurairah radiallahu an. Now look at this, poetry is such an amazing. In fact, there's another hadith that inna min ash-shi'ri la hikmah, indeed wisdom lies in poetry. And poetry takes people to such higher realms almost of consciousness. It takes many people to God. You know, that is the thing of poetry. Ya salam. I mean, now, and the Prophet himself admired poetry, and the companions loved poetry. So how is this possible? Now look, Aisha radiallahu anha, it's transmitted that, and this comes in several, I'm just one moment, I'm just bringing out the actual, right, okay. Now, فقالت عائشة رضي الله عنها, Aisha radiallahu anha said, when she heard this narration, لم يحفظ الحديث, that Abu Hurairah did not memorize that hadith. إنما قال رسول الله, indeed the Messenger of Allah said, لأن يمتلئ جوف أحدكم قيحا ودما, that one of you should become a container of infections and blood and pus, is better for him. خير له من أن يمتلئ شعرا, is better for him to become that than a container of poetry. هجيت به. Now look at that final part which is missing. هجيت به, that a vessel of poetry by which I have been maligned and cursed. So what the Prophet said is, if one of you starts memorizing all this poetry that these people are writing to insult me with, because a lot of the Arabs were writing insulting poetry against the Prophet, the Prophet said, wouldn't it be better that you were a container of all this horrible thing than you were of that? Because here am I trying to liberate you from these chains of bondage to superstition and to this kind of myths and these false deities and this kind of bond, that the shackles of shirk and dhulm and oppression. I'm trying to do that, and some of you are memorizing poetry, long poems of insults against me. So the Prophet said that. Now look at this, the last wording, hujitu bihi, that rather than memorizing poetry by which I am cursed and insulted, is dropped or forgotten or not memorized. So what ends up being said completely changes the trajectory of Islam. It makes Islam appear as though it's anti-poetry, anti-arts, anti-literature, but it's not. So we can see how these small things make a huge difference in the image of Islam. Okay, and I think really this, and there's several riwayat from Aisha radiallahu an about this that kind of support that. And you know, several things, and I totally love, that's one of the things, amazing thing, there actually, a lot of them are collected in this book. It's called Al-Ijaba li-Irad mastadrakathu Aisha ala Sahaba. That it's called The Response to what Aisha intervened or reprimanded the other companions about. And it's not as you can see, it's not a detailed book, but it's got some amazing detailed works on some of the kind of ahadith that Aisha radiallahu anha corrected. And there's an interesting one that's transmitted in Muslim and Nasa'i. I'll share another one with you, where Abu Hurairah is saying that the Messenger of Allah said, Man ahabba liqa Allahi, ahabba Allahu liqa'ah. that whosoever loves to meet God, then Allah loves to meet him. وَمَنْ كَرِهَ لِقَاءَ اللَّهِ كَرِهَ اللَّهُ لِقَاءَ. And what they mean by that is whosoever loves to die, because obviously you're going to meet Allah after you're dead, then Allah is pleased to meet you. But it's kind of encouraging this outlook towards death, this kind of gothic. And look, the person says in the same hadith, Shurayh, the famous tabi'i, says, I came to Aisha فَقُلْتُ يَا al-mu'mineen. I said, O mother of the believers, I heard Abu Huraira say that the Messenger of Allah said this hadith. She said, in kana kadhalik, if that hadith was true, faqad halakna, then we're all destroyed. Because we don't naturally just wish death. Now look at that reason-based approach. And check this out. In another riwayah, she said, what does that mean? She said, وَلَيْسَ مِنَّا أَحَدٌ. There is nobody amongst us إِلَّا وَهُوَ يَكْرَهُ الْمَوْتِ, except he dislikes death. Wallahi, wow. Now that is somebody so real, radiyallahu anha, may Allah be pleased with her, and so who we are proud to call the mother of our legacy, al-Mu'mineen, being very real. None of this, oh, we need to, this gothic, morbid approach, we must love to die, we must love to. She said, look, what are you on about? Nobody loves to die. She said there isn't anybody from us except he would dislike to die. She was the beloved wife of the Prophet. Look how far we've come from our deen. Honestly, we've come so far we've come from our deen. May Allah really guide us. Seriously, there's the words of, there's a poet, Saghir Sadiqi, although he's speaking of this kind of humanity, and he says, they call it in Urdu, often referred to maruwat, this kind of morality and humanity. He says, na jaane kahan kho gayi hai murawwat, badi dur tak to mere saath aayi. That I don't know where this humanity, this kind of thing has got lost. It definitely came with me a long way. And then, somewhere along the way, we lost it. But we are so distant. And I think this is just amazing, subhanallah. Right, people, let's take a few questions, some rapid round, and then we'll wrap this up, inshallah. By the way, I do release snippets, small snippets on YouTube. I kind of get them cut out of these sections or other kind of, let's say, small talks I've done. So do subscribe to my YouTube channel as well, people, Mufti Abu Layth. So you can just search it, subscribe, share it, share the love, people, share the love. So let's take a few questions. What do you think of Abu Ibrahim's comment? Oh, I've done a whole half an hour dedicated to na munna na. Kabi, not the time and place for la'na. Right, okay. Right, people, or should I take some questions that were already submitted and do a rapid round? A few people were commenting in between on my beard. You can watch a clip, I've got it on YouTube. I shared it recently, that is the beard sunnah. Look at that, people. I shared see, this is the awesome thing about this natural fitra understanding of Islam. You live a very guilt-free life. It's free of superstition. You don't believe in demons, don't believe in evil eye, don't believe in magic, hocus pocus. You don't believe things ain't haram so easily. Music isn't haram. All these things ain't haram. It's how life ought to be. I shared a Eid video and somebody said, Astaghfirullah, it's got music in it, got music, music in it, haram in it. I said, just chill, bro, on this side of the fence of Islam, it's all good. You know, it's all good. Don't worry about it. It's all good. So, now, right, now, exactly, chicken versus red meat slaughter Ahlul Kitab. Right, I'm not sure what that means. Generally, I think that's a bit of a detailed one. I've answered that before, I'm pretty sure I have. Have I not answered? In summary, and I'll answer it in detail maybe later on because I'm just doing a rapid round right now. You see, I think slaughter had many aspects to it. It had the first feature was sacrificing for the sake of God. It was a ritual. Second was a social feature of identity. I think today Muslims are amongst only the few people who do sacrifice still to God. Most people don't. So although the first ritual feature is now just there only as a ritual, it's not there really about shirk anymore because other people don't do that anymore. Generally speaking, some cultures may, but throughout the world most people no longer sacrifice to other gods. So the ritual is still there, but the identity is definitely there. So I would definitely encourage all people always to stick to halal, dhabiha meat and stuff like that. It's one for the ritual and two for the identity. Otherwise, as Allah says that, look, in the Quran, it's not that the meat doesn't reach your Lord. It doesn't. It's really the taqwa from you. So that is true. And hence you see why in the past they never had any kind of slaughtering of wild animals, because wild animals were not offered to the gods. So neither were fish offered in that part of Arabia. Hence fish were all fine. Neither were birds. Hence all birds are halal. Right, people, what are the question? I will definitely stay on this side of Amen. Amen, Deborah. Amen. Right, so what are we looking at? Right, there is jihad, aura of amma. Aura means what to cover of a slave girl. I think we covered a bit of that. I think we covered or uncovered a bit of that previously. And hurra, a free woman. Is that what it is? These are lengthy discussions. We got to cover. Why should women wear jilbab? I don't believe women have to wear jilbabs. Women don't have to wear jilbabs. They just have to dress modestly. That's all. That's the Islamic requirement. That's all. Watch some of your videos. Can you explain how Islam actually fits the bill? What does that mean? And justify how Islam is the true religion. Come on, how the hell am I supposed to do that? How do you react to your child or grandchild that say they are homosexual? Oh my God, that's not a... You know, once we were sitting with a friend, there were a few of us, a while back, and somebody said to him, what if your son comes home and says, Dad, I'm homosexual? So he, in a kind of bout of rage, said, huh? I'll castrate him. Obviously, you know, just as a reaction, he said, castrate him. So, so we said, yeah, what if he says, yeah, that's okay because I'm on the receiving end, it's okay. Right, well, okay, people, that's, I think a joke. Oh, that's humor getting out of control. So let me control the humor. How should you react? I don't know how to react, to be honest with you. We're living in very interesting times. I think people need to understand as well the psychology of certain people, what they're going through. When people are, we have to understand that Islam doesn't teach homophobia, although generally speaking, Islam doesn't condone homosexuality, with some differences. Some scholars did say it was okay, but the majority of the people rejected it as a general practice, although many Muslims practiced it. This is the double standards that we have, you see. So many Muslims many, like it was such a wide, in fact it was like an aristocratic practice, so everybody kind of used to look up to it. But they practiced it with much fluidity, and I think this is another problem that we've got in this day and age, is that homosexuals, I feel that for them it's become an identity issue. And this is a crisis of the 21st century, that people want to define their identity through their sexuality. So you see, they see themselves as a light switch effect, like now I'm stuck. And then they really are mentally so stuck. Because they, and it's not just about sexuality, it's about their whole being and existential identity is defined through their sexuality. And I just find that so, I think that's way over kind of, I don't think our existential reality and identity should be defined through our sexuality. I mean, no matter how good the sex is, it shouldn't be defined, it shouldn't be your whole identity or your whole existence hangs on the balance of your sexuality, of how or who you have sex. That should never. And I think this is the homosexual community, if I can call them that, have kind of really, I think, I mean, I disagree with what they've done here in trying to kind of really emphasize this, and I think they've, personally, I would say they've gone wrong in defining their whole existence through their sexuality. And I think there's no need to be so dramatic about that. But that said, I think Muslims, we need to make sure we're not, you see, we have to move away from this kind of homophobia as well. And we have to recognize that, look, people, there's like, you can't force somebody to do something. If somebody said they're homosexual, what can you actually do? Now, what can be done? This is the question. Like, truthfully, what could be done if they're homosexual? Like, what can you do? Like, you're not gonna, what are you gonna do? Like, force them to, like, let's say it's a guy, you're gonna force him to marry a girl. And what good is that gonna do? He's just gonna ruin her life as well. Because she's gonna be like, my husband isn't even interested in me. Unless you marry her to like a she-male. Not, that's a joke, not a solution. Now people are gonna just quote me here and say, look what Mufti said. Mufti said this. But seriously, if you married, let's say, this homosexual guy off to a girl, you're just gonna ruin her life, and that's not fair on her. So unless he's bisexual, but. So the point is that what is the solution? And there's nothing you can, like, you can't really, you know, like some people in the part, like before, they would say, yeah, he needs to man up, send him to the gym with loads of men. So he's just in the changing room with loads of men going, yeah, how was your workout, bro? And he's just loving it. That must be like paradise for this person. So obviously those days are, these kind of solutions don't work. So what can a person do? I think there's nothing you can do, unfortunately. I mean, so this is, the whole thing is a mess. There's no solution. Like I said, this whole homosexuality thing and defining your whole existence through your sexuality, I think is a huge mistake that the homosexuals community have kind of have made, and this is what they've pushed. I think as far as rights are concerned, they should be treated just like normal human beings. They have exactly the same rights as every other human being, and that's the kind of things they should have pushed. But as to kind of defining everything through their sexuality, I think it was a big mistake. But they've done it, and now they're all stuck, all these people. Because it's just everything is about being gay. So yeah, souls don't have gender. No, I don't think they do. And hence I said that's an interesting thought in the Akhirah. You know, there's a Hanafi scholar, by the way, there's a Hanafi scholar, Ibn Nujaym, who writes that he writes that, and he's quoting, I believe, from some earlier Hanafi scholars, saying, what if a person, the question is, a person says, what if in paradise I want to be gay, homosexual in paradise? So what will happen? So he actually says that, he entertains this question, and he says, well, there will be one of three things. Either God will give you then guys to be homosexual with. Now check this, these are great Hanafi scholars of, like, he's from about 400 years ago at least, who's writing this. He says either Allah will provide you guys to be homosexual with, or he will remove homosexuality from you so you wouldn't have the desire, or he will provide you a guy but he's a girl from beneath. These are some of the funky, fruity responses from some of our great scholars. No, he was a great scholar, though. He was. I'm not belittling his scholarship, but but that's what kind of a cheat is that? So it's a guy, but he's a girl underneath. And imagine it's the other way around by accident. You get a surprise. You're like, whoa. What? Isn't this paradise? Well, that's enough humour, people. Right, let's wrap this up. Let's call it a night, people. You know what? If you've got any questions, reach out to me, folks. Like my page, by the way. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can Snapchat me on Malm 2014, MALM 2014. Twitter, all of these things. Instagram. I gotta move with the times. with the millennial generation, these younger generation. So anyway, guys, you can do all of those things. Inshallah, reach out to me. Any issues next week? I will probably be doing the Q&A on just as a one-off on Sunday coming up, as opposed to Monday next week. Just as a one-off, right? So, but I'll announce it before that anyway. But cool. Other than that, people, as always, you've been absolutely awesome. All right, nothing but absolute love for you guys. Take very good care of yourselves. Till next week, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.